And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at Kaleidos. This is a game in which you're going to look at pictures and find things. Kind of like Where's Waldo, except you're looking for very specific things. Now this game reminded me, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, wait a minute, I've seen this game before. Yeah, because it's very similar to a game called Scrutinize that I played when I was a kid, or a game called Picture Picture. There are some differences, but if you may never have heard of those games, doesn't matter. This is a party game. Let's take a look. In this game, each player will have a stand here, and in this stand, they're going to get a picture. Everyone's going to be using the same picture, and you'll see there's a ton of things in this picture. And each player is also going to be given a sheet of paper, and they're going to have a pencil, and then a deck of cards is going to be shuffled. And this deck of cards has letters on them, so you'll shuffle this deck of cards, and you'll draw one letter, R. And then you'll turn the timer over, and everybody is going to write down everything in this picture they think that starts with the letter R. So I might look in here, okay, what starts with the letter R? Rose, that's not a rose, it's just a regular flower. Is there a rug in this picture somewhere? And so you're writing things down as quickly as you can. When time runs out, everybody's going to compare lists. And then after you compare lists, if you were the only person to write down a word, you'll get 3 points. If you wrote down a word other people wrote down, you will get 1 point. And of course, you have to prove that the word is in there. So if I say L for lion, that one's pretty easy. But if I say C for cat, I'm like, where's a cat? I'm like, well, this guy is a cat right here. And maybe D, Doctor Who. You're like, nah, I don't think that's that. And so people can vote and argue over what the different things in the pictures are. And you'll see there's all kinds of pictures here with a ton of items in them. And this, of course, is always often going to lead to pretty big arguments over what's in the picture and what's not. So here's another one with dinosaur bones, and over here going into outer space. And there's several pictures that are included in the box, maybe fewer than I would prefer. Let me see if I can find some other ones. Here we got the jungle, and on this side, the Mad Hatter's Tea Party or whatever. And so once you're done with that, once you score the points, and once you do that, you're going to go to another turn. And after several turns, basically you're going to have there's 4 groups of 5 boards, basically, that you're going to have. So there are 10 different pictures total, and you have different letter cards that you have, and you're going to be scoring points for different acceptable words, and you play a certain number of rounds, and after those rounds, whoever has the most points is the winner. Remember, if you're the only person to write a word down, 3 points. If other people write it down, it's 1 point. Now, while there are only 4 easels in this game and 4 pictures, you can play with a whole lot of players. Each group will gather around 1 picture and find things. So, a couple things about this game. First of all, the concept of the game is great. I've always loved Picture Picture. I've always loved Scrutinize. I love those games. And so I think the idea of looking for stuff in a big picture is really cool. So I thought that was neat. I like the team aspect. I like that there's 4 pictures, 1 for each player. 10 pictures is kind of pushing it for how, 20 would have been a lot better. I think 10 pictures is just barely enough for there to be a game. And this game needs expansion packs badly, I think, or hopefully. But other than that, everything is fine. The pencils, it's, your typical party game. But these kind of party games always lead to arguing. And because whatever you write, someone will say, cat, lion, those things. But someone might write wildcat. Like, okay, now that's not a wildcat. And there will be this arguing back and forth. And every game I've ever played of this kind of game is always going to lead to arguments. And yeah, you can vote on these things. It's not a big deal. But just to let you know, that stuff exists. This one, really, Scrutinize and Picture Picture are both better than this game. They really are. Their pictures are more interesting. The artwork in this game is fine, but it's also, I don't know. The other games back in the day just seemed to have all kinds of cool, unique, weird things to them. But they also were different in that they were kind of like categories, where you found something for each letter of the alphabet. Being bound to a specific letter here is just not as fun. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad game. I do enjoy Kaleidos. It's just that it feels like a pale imitation. I would actually say don't get it, except Picture, Picture, and Scrutinize don't exist anymore. You might find them at thrift stores. So this is really the only game of this type. So I'm saying grudgingly, all right, get this one. But I would actually modify the rules and just say, hey, write down one thing for every letter of the alphabet. You will find that is way more fun because lion, L. But wait, someone else might write lion too. I'm not going to get a lot of points for that. And then play with those Picture, Picture, Scrutinize rules where if you write the same answer as someone else, it gets crossed off. So you might say, I'm not going to write down the obvious stuff, but you can. So here I am telling you to change the rules of the game, but you should. The single letter is fine, but there will be sometimes, like even in the example I showed you, my mind just went blank. I'm looking for something that starts with the letter R. Now you might have been looking and going, oh yeah, I found it. But if your mind goes blank, that's not as much fun. But when there's something for every letter, then you're like, oh, okay, L, lion, G, gorilla. That's a vine. I bet no one else is going to write that for V. I find that more fascinating. But as you go through these letter cards, okay, R is not so big of a deal. You get K, and it's kind of like, really? We're doing K? Just some letters are just not as fun as other letters. I mean, not fun very much at all. So it almost sounds like I'm giving this a negative review, and I'm coming very close to giving a negative review. However, if you make those small changes that I recommend, the game is a lot better. But again, it needs more pictures. It needs those rules changes. I really do think so, because drawing one unfun letter makes for one unfun round. But it is a cool idea, and I give them credit for trying. So this one would have like a 6.00000 rating from me, which means, I mean, if the Picture Scrutinize was released next week, boom, they replaced this in an instant. So anyway, that's my review of Kaleidos. Dice Tower Judgment, approved, but barely.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com. Shut the door!